Sidi Ould Cheikh Abdallahi is a Mauritanian politician who was President of Mauritania from 2007 to 2008. He served in the government during the 1970s, and after a long period of absence from politics he won the March 2007 presidential election, taking office on the 19th of April 2007. He was deposed in a military coup d'etat on August 6, 2008. Early life and education. Abdallahi was born in the town of Ould in southern Mauritania whilst a French colony, about 250 kilometers from the capital Nouakchott. He received his primary education in Ould and his secondary education in Rosso, Mauritania, and then at the École Normale Supérieure William Ponty in Senegal. He subsequently studied mathematics, physics, and chemistry in Dakar, Senegal, and received a diplôme d'études approfondies in economics in Grenoble, France. Civil service. In 1968 Abdallahi returned to Mauritania to become director of the plan. He worked on the second plan for economic and social development. In 1971, he was appointed as Minister of Planning and Industrial Development in September 1971 by the first post-independence president, Ould Cheikh. During the 1970s he served in a series of positions in the government, including that of Minister of State for the National Economy in 1975 and Minister of Planning and Mines in 1976. As Minister of Planning and Mines, he was involved in the nationalization of the iron mines and the introduction of the ouïa as the nation's currency. Following the coup d'etat that ousted President Dada in July 1978, Abdallahi was imprisoned until April 1979. From 1982 to late 1985 Abdallahi lived in Kuwait, where he worked as an advisor to the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development. When he returned to Mauritania in 1986, he served in the government under President Mohamed Saddam Taher. Under the Taher administration, he served as Minister of Hydraulics and Energy in 1986 and then as Minister of Fishing and the Maritime Economy in 1987. After a clash with influential businessmen over fishing policies, he was replaced on September 21, 1987. From September 1989 until June 2003 he lived in Niger, working again for the Kuwait Fund as an advisor. 2007 presidential election. Abdallahi announced his candidacy for president on July 4, 2006. He ran as an independent and was viewed by some as the candidate representing the ruling Military Council for Justice and Democracy, the Coalition of Forces for Democratic Change, which won a large portion of the seats in Parliament in the 2006 parliamentary election, sent a letter to various international organizations, including the African Union, accusing the junta of running an open campaign in favor of one candidate through various methods, including asking influential people in the country to back the favored candidate. Although the letter did not directly name Abdallahi as this candidate, in the first round of the election held on March 11, 2007, Abdallahi took first place with 24.80% of the vote. A second round was therefore planned for March 25 between Abdallahi and the second-place candidate, Mohamed. On March 17, the third-place candidate, Ould Cheikh, announced his support for Abdallahi in the second round. Fourth-place candidate Ould Cheikh also announced his support for Abdallahi on March 19. Following the second round of polling, Interior Minister Mohamed Ould Lemine declared Abdallahi the winner on March 26, saying that he won 52.85% of the vote. Abdallahi won 10 out of the country's 13 regions. He took office on April 19, 2007 and named Zidane as Prime Minister on the next day. Presidency. After the government announced a $112 million United States dollars budget deficit, mostly due to shortfalls in oil exports due to technical problems, the president decided to take a 25% pay cut and encourage other members of the government to do so on June 7, 2007. Abdallahi addressed the nation on June 29 for the first time since taking office. In this speech, he referred to the dark years of 1989 to 91, condemning the violence of the time, expressing compassion for its victims, and emphasizing the importance of tolerance and reconciliation. He said that the state will entirely assume its responsibility to ensure the return of Mauritanian refugees and promised that they could all benefit from a reintegration program in their native lands with the support of the HCR, the Mauritanian state, United National effort and the cooperation of our development partners. Quote, he also mentioned an anti-slavery bill approved by the government. Plans by Abdallahi's supporters to create a new party to back him were initiated in 2007. The opposition has criticized this as potentially meaning a return to a single-party dominant system, as existed under Taher. The party, called the National Pact for Democracy and Development, was established at a constitutive congress in early January 2008. On September 26, 2007, while Abdallahi was at the United Nations in New York City, he met a delegation of the African Liberation Forces of Mauritania, a movement seeking the improvement of the conditions of black Mauritanians. This marked the first talks between a Mauritanian head of state and FLAM since it was banned in 1986. 2008 Coup d'etat. Early in the morning of August 6, 2008, Abdallahi replaced senior army officers. At 9:20 a.m. he was seized from his home by members of the BASEP in a military coup. Presidential spokesman Abdoulaye Mamadou Ba said that Abdallahi, Prime Minister Yahya Ould Ahmed Wagef, and the Interior Minister were arrested by renegade senior army officers, unknown troops and a group of generals, and were held under house arrest at the presidential palace in Nouakchott. In the apparently successful and bloodless coup d'etat, Abdallahi's daughter, Amal Ould Cheikh Abdallahi, said, "The security agents of the BASEP came to our home and took away my father." The coup plotters were top-fired security forces, including General Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz, General Mohamed Ould Al-Ghazwani, General Philippe Swikri, and Brigadier General Ahmed Ould Bakri. Member of Parliament Mohamed Al-Mukhtar claimed widespread popular support for the coup, saying that Abdallahi had headed an authoritarian regime and had marginalized the majority in parliament. The coup leaders announced on August 7 that Abdallahi's powers had been terminated and that a newly formed High Council of State would govern the nation in a transitional period leading to a new presidential election as soon as possible. On August 8, Abdallahi's daughter said that she had not been informed of his whereabouts, and she expressed concern for Abdallahi's health and safety. Meanwhile, Abdelaziz said in an interview with Jeune Afrique that the military had been forced to take power by serious economic and political problems. He accused Abdallahi of attempting a coup against democracy through his actions. According to Abdelaziz, Abdallahi had set members of parliament against one another, and his dismissal of the senior officers immediately prior to the coup was intended to divide the army. Abdelaziz also said that Abdallahi was being held at the Palace of Congress, was in good conditions, had not complained, and would be released in a matter of days or weeks. According to Abdelaziz, Abdallahi would probably not be required to leave Mauritania and would probably still be allowed to participate in politics. However, Abdelaziz was quoted in an interview with Ashaq Al-Awsat published on August 9 as saying Abdallahi would not be released for the time being, citing security reasons. Wagaf and 3 other high-ranking officials were released by the military on August 11, while Abdallahi remained in custody. A few hours later, Wagaf spoke before a rally of thousands of people and expressed defiance toward the junta, saying that Mauritanians did not accept its rule and urging the people to continue struggling to restore Abdallahi to power. He said that Abdallahi thanked them for their untiring fight to restore constitutional order. Arab League Assistant Secretary General Ahmed bin Heli said on August 11, after returning from Mauritania, that he had asked to meet with Abdallahi but was not allowed to do so. Jean Ping, the chairman of the Commission of the African Union, held talks with Abdelaziz on August 25-26, and in a statement on August 30, the African Union Commission said that Abdelaziz had committed to releasing Abdallahi during his talks with Ping. On September 2, 2008, the Mauritanian Parliament, meeting in a special session, chose 4 deputies and 4 senators to sit as a high court that would try Abdallahi on allegations such as corruption and obstruction of Parliament. However, no further steps have been taken since. 4 human rights groups met with Abdallahi, who was still being held by the army. On October 19, one of those who met with him said that his morale was high and he's following the news on the television and the radio, and that he wanted to be allowed to publicly defend his actions as president, as well as meet with supporters. He was taken from Nouakchott to his home village of Lemden on November 13. According to the government, Abdallahi agreed to leave politics, but at a news conference on November 13, Abdallahi denied that he had promised the junta anything. He also said that being moved to Lemden was meaningless because he remained a president under house arrest. On November 20, Abdallahi said in an interview that once the coup is thwarted, he would be open to all dialogue to discuss the future of the democratic institutions of the country in the framework of the constitution and the laws of the country. In an interview published on December 20, Abdallahi said that he would not take part in the national consultation meeting planned for December 27, despite being invited by the junta, as he felt his participation would legitimize the coup d'etat. Abdallahi was taken out of Lemden by security forces in the early hours of December 21, driven to Nouakchott, and then released on the same day. Abdallahi subsequently returned to Lemden. On January 22, 2009, he attempted to travel to Nouakchott to deliver a speech, but his motorcade was stopped by security forces at Ouadnaga, outside of the city. The security forces said that he was not allowed into Nouakchott with a motorcade, but Abdallahi was unwilling to enter the city without his motorcade and chose to instead return to Lemden.